Welcome to DFW Running Talk. I'm Chris Detzel, so let's get started. All right, welcome to another DFW Running Talk. I'm Chris Detzel, and today we have two extremely fun and exciting guests. My first guest is Marcus Grunewald. Marcus, how are you?
I'm doing great, Chris.
Great. And we'll let people know who you are in a minute. And then Jodi Jordan. Jodi, how are you?
Doing awesome. Thank you.
So what do you do, Marcus? What's your
That's a good question. A lot of people ask me that. I am the executive managing director for the Dallas White Rock Marathon organization, which puts on the annual BMW Dallas Marathon.
Wow, I'm finally excited to have you. Jodi, tell me about you. What do you do?
I am the operations director for the BMW Dallas Marathon.
Well, that's really awesome. So before we kind of dive deep in, I want to get to know a little bit about both of you, if that's fair. So you've been the Dallas Marathon executive director, but now you're executive managing director. Hopefully I got that right.
Yeah, that's cool.
First of all, have you always been into running? What's the...
No, actually, in college, we had a running group. I went out one time with them and thought that was for the birds, and really didn't run again until after college. I graduated, moved to Dallas. And one of my college buddies, fraternity brothers, moved to Dallas a year after me. When we met up and became roommates, he told me I was getting fat, and I've always been a skinny kid. And I looked down, and sure enough, there was a 10-pound beer gut that I had developed over the past year. He had run all through college, and he got me back, or got me into running to a point where I really enjoyed it.
Wow. And would you just start hanging out with them to run, or was it
Yeah,
5Ks, 10, what?
just like any running group. My roommate Rick worked at HKS Architects. They had a small running group there, and then I started attending their running group meetings and training with them, and met some other runners and joined with some other faster groups, and then got more into it. It's funny. Rick took me to my first 5K. I had no idea what it was. No, it was a 5-miler. Run to Reunion 5-miler back in the early 80s. And I knew nothing about running other than he told me I really ought to run around Bachman Lake once before we go do this race. And at the race, he said, just follow him. And not knowing better, we got on the front line. And he said, just follow me when the gun goes off. The gun went off and he took off like it was a 100-yard dash. And I made it maybe 50 yards before I doubled over and couldn't breathe. But that was the hook that got me started. And I think for the next several months, I ran a race every weekend. And when you're new to running and you keep getting a little bit better and better and better, it's very encouraging. So back from a 5-mile, I could barely finish, to doing, marathons, ultramarathons, 50 milers and stuff. It was something that a good habit I developed, I guess.
You just said 50 milers?
Yeah, I've done one 50 miler, Rocky
Okay.
Raccoon.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, it's fun, crazy fun. People ask me, why would you run 50 miles? It's like, I would rather be out in the woods running around like a little boy than behind a computer for 8 hours.
I remember the day I've seen you several times run trail runs. I've probably been at some of your trail runs or
Yeah.
trail runs. And I've always liked trail running. I haven't done it in a couple of years. That's pretty cool. I know you used to lift weights and stuff too
Yeah.
for a while.
In my 30s, I was racing quite a bit and developed some nagging running injuries that wouldn't go away. And I met this guy during a bike ride across Iowa, the Ragbri. And every year he did something different. The year before that, he was into hot air ballooning and actually bought a hot air balloon. And he said after bike riding for a full year, he was going to train and do Ironmans, but he always did something different. And he told me that his way of alternating different things was so he would stay healthy. And I met a guy who was into weightlifting, and he gave me some exercises that would help me as a runner. And then just like when I first started running, when I first started lifting weights, I got better and better and better. And so that became the big passion. I still ran just as a warm up for weightlifting, but I went from my running weight of 165 up to almost 205 with actually less body fat. And it was just another challenge, but I was looking long term, as you need to, when you're running marathons and stuff. And I did that when I turned 40. And when I turned 50, I went to the YMCA. I took the barbells, picked them up once, put them down, and I was done with weightlifting and bodybuilding. And then I got back into running and racing. And it was a really exciting time because at that time I weighed 202, 203. And to try to work my way back down to a racing weight was extremely difficult, but also extremely fun to kind of start over. The injuries were gone, and I've been running pretty much injury-free since.
Well, that's pretty amazing. Jodi, how are you?
I'm doing great.
Great. So tell me a little bit about you. I know you've done some half Ironmans, you've done marathons, you've done a lot of different things. First of all, what got you into running, and why are you so excited about doing this still, even working and running stuff?
Yeah. I started back in my 20s just to get healthier. I was quite the partier in my
Nice.
college and post-college years, and a friend of mine, Kim Skidmore, wanted to join the Riot Running Institute of Texas group back in the Bob Wallace days at Run On. And so we started with a half marathon. And I think the first one that I did, first half marathon distance, was the 13.1. It was the all-state 13.1. I think it only was around for 1 or 2 years. Started at AT&T Performing Arts Center. I started with that, and then first full marathon was Oklahoma City Marathon.
So let's back up a little bit. So when you started running, did you do anything in like high school, college? You did nothing. You didn't do any sports?
High school, I played like field hockey.
Okay.
I was a cheerleader, but I was not athletic.
Okay.
My nickname was the ref because I was frequently just told to stand on the sidelines and be the ref.
I thought you played volleyball.
No.
I mean,
Field
she would
hockey.
have a hard time unless she's just bumping it, right?
Yeah,
Is that wrong?
it's true. It's true.
Okay, so you got into half marathons and you ran
And
your first.
immediately went to fulls.
Okay.
Immediately. I jumped on board and like Marcus did race after race. And I was doing a lot of the Run Project races back when they had the Santa Fe Trail 5K, and met, like I said, Bob Wallace started doing heart rate training, started to get a little bit faster. And then told him I wanted to be a race director. And he said, "You're crazy. And, but come on, we'll take you." And
This
so
was for.
Bob Wallace for
Oh.
racing systems at the time.
Okay.
And so he then moved to Colorado, and Tana Wood took over. And so I worked at racing systems on the Run Project series. And that was back 10 years ago.
Okay. So you've been doing kind of this stuff for a little while.
Yes.
Tell me more. Like what else? So for 10 years you did racing systems?
That was about
race?
10 years ago.
10 years ago. Okay.
10 years ago. And then I was the Life and Night walk director. And then I went back over to racing systems and did some work through COVID with her once I had my kids. So there was a lot of flexibility there to work events. We work long and hard, but we have flexibility. So it's conducive to having kids, I would say.
There's so much I want to ask you, but I think that
There's a lot there.
there's a lot to unpack there. I won't go deep into that, but you've had the background of events and operations. And so, kind of this next step of where Mark is, he was telling me a long time ago that at some point he wants to retire. He's been doing that. How long have you been doing this, Marcus?
So this year will be my 24th year as race director for the marathon. I was a volunteer for 4 or 5 years before that. I think I started in 97 working on it. And it's funny, I never thought about retirement until something just kind of a light bulb goes off in your head. I think when I met Jodi, she came to work for us as a contractor through mutual friends right after the pandemic.
Okay.
And she was looking for some part-time work and had excellent references. And when we met, I could just tell there was something about her that would make her really good. And she became my assistant race director. And the more I got to know Jodi, and then when we were eventually able to hire her earlier this year, retirement made a lot more sense.
Okay.
And I really love what I do, but I also love seeing the rest of the organization. We now have 5 full-time employees, what they add to the overall existence of the marathon and the organization.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like the grandfather watching the grandkids open Christmas running and get, growing up and getting. And so I know running kind of helps, I guess.
It does.
I've been very fortunate. Maybe the weightlifting helped for a little while. I don't know. I want to do things while I am still able to do things, and I really enjoy the running. I'm looking forward to actually running more now. At my age, I have to need more time for recovery. So that's the big thing. But again, I can see the marathon getting better and better, and with Jodi helping out and then eventually taking over, it's in really good hands. And I look forward to maybe even running in the Dallas Marathon for the first time since back in the early 90s.
That's the only time you've run?
No, actually, before I got involved with the marathon, I completed 10 of the Dallas White Rock marathons, probably ran in 13 and used it as a training run for some others. But yeah, 10 completions. My medals from finishing back in those days all look the same, except for maybe some of them have a date on it. And I said, if I ever have anything to do with this organization, we're changing up the medals, which is something we do every year now. It's amazing to me that the designers can come up with a design that betters the previous year's design, but a great artist and graphics team that helps us with this each year.
That's really awesome. And Jodi, so your first year of full-time work here at Dallas Marathon, what has that been like? And tell us a little bit about kind of what you've been doing and what you've been learning and you know?
So little backstory.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
contracted with Marcus, and then our operations team asked me to come on board with them full time. And so I've been working with the Dallas Marathon for about 4 years, but
Okay. So you've known.
yes.
Okay. Got it.
But now it's just a different capacity
Yeah.
where I am now the client essentially with our operations team, if that makes sense. We make a lot, we're decision makers. And so it's a lot more hands-on from that perspective,
Yeah.
if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I've only been on board since September, but was, like I said,
No,
already
not that
working
long.
on the event. Not that long. It's
Well,
not that long. But it's
but
definitely different.
her experience with the BMW
Yeah.
Marathon goes way back
Yes.
to when she first worked. And just to clarify things, we have a third-party operations team. They do event management and
That's-
production, a company called Event Southwest. I'm not, it's not like in the early years, it was just me alone. I wasn't putting this off. There were tons of volunteers. And then over time, we hired Event Southwest to help with the heavy lifting. And so Jodi went to, everyone loves Jodi. They met her during race weekend. And we were fighting who was going to hire her first. And Event Southwest got their hooks in her before I could, but I was looking long term. And so she gained much more valuable experience in her years with Event Southwest, working on numerous. In fact, this is how smart Jodi is. She told me when she told me she was going to take that job that she can gain much more experience working on numerous events through Event Southwest than if she came to work for us and just have, one event a year.
Yeah.
And so it made a lot of sense to me. And I think that's how we were able to hire her when we finally did, is I told her that if she stayed at Event Southwest, she would be an account manager working on all these different events, but really wouldn't get the recognition that she will as the eventual race director at Dallas Marathon. She will be the person, the gal that gets it done.
That's no
Sweat a little
pressure.
bit. Yeah, no
What is that?
pressure.
So
How exciting is that?
Pretty exciting.
Yeah.
But it's exciting because of the base that's
Right.
been laid. It's an incredible event.
And it's a huge responsibility because especially as active as she is in the running community, everything we do is about, well, not everything, really a lot of things we do is about the runners. What can we do to make this the best event for the runners? And
Yeah.
being runners ourselves, we can not only look at it from a business perspective, but the actual end user perspective. How are they going to respond to these things? Our goal is to, first of all, keep everybody safe that's involved, but also to enhance the experience as much as we can with our year-to-year learnings. And I think you've seen that through the marathon, the Dallas Marathon each year, as we add new things, new programs, attributes, and so forth. And I think that's one reason why we continue to sell out quicker and quicker each year, is we keep innovating to make it a better event.
I think that it's funny because I remember running the Dallas Marathon, whatever it was called, back in 2014. And it was a cool event, but it's nothing like it is today. I remember a couple times like, oh, it's an okay event or whatever. But you tell me if I'm wrong, and maybe, I don't want to overstep here, but I do remember that something happened 5 to 6, 7 years ago that changed the way Dallas Marathon was, right? So instead of just having a half and a full, and I think you guys added a 50K, 5K, and a 10K. You brought in a dude from Disney. He kind of mandated it. Not to say that was good or bad. I don't know the back end of the stories, but what I do know is now if you look at it, and maybe just some of that's come to fruition and it took time to really build it out. But man, the last 2 years for sure. And if you're on the forums, like I have a forum, and WRC, and then Plano Pacers, Plano Running Club, all those people see all the new people coming in, begging for a bib, trying to sell their bib, it's been crazy the last 2 years for sure. And this year has been doubly crazy. I mean, because it sold out within just a few
Really
months.
quick.
And I love that. Like, I mean, the event has become pretty amazing, and it's become bigger, and it's become kind of one of the staples of Dallas Fort Worth, and I know Cowtown does an amazing job as well. So those are really the two, in my opinion, the two big events of the year. Not to say there's not other smaller ones. Talk more about how do you think, I want to get, before I get you to talk more, because I know you have tons of history. How do you think about that, Jodi, as you look at this year into the future of, Dallas? How do you make that better? How do you think about it?
How do I think about it? My biggest goal, I want neighborhoods linking our course. I want businesses coming out and supporting, and that is
sponsoring, things like that.
We have great sponsors,
Yeah,
phenomenal sponsors, but people do have to put their lives on hold on Sunday, December 14th, and whatever day that is in that year. And I want people to have the joy that the runner has at the finish line when they're a spectator. So I want to feel what you feel in Chicago, in New York, in
Mm,
Boston, in Dallas, and we are on our way. So
I think
we are
so.
on our way. And that is how I see this race growing even more because we have runner buy-in, which is incredible. We want our runners to stay local. Of course, experience other places,
Yeah.
run other events, but to call this their home race and put it on the calendar every year. And now I want more community support, and I do feel like we're headed in that direction.
So just to back up, just a personal question kind of is, you've done a lot of running yourself. Like you're almost at a under a 3-hour marathon. No, you're not there yet.
Oh no, I am
You did?
57.
57? Okay.
Town,
Cowtown. That's actually kind of
February.
crazy. Cowtown is not generally a PR, but that's pretty amazing that you did that.
Thank
That's right. At Chicago, you're trying to hit under 3 again, and you were very close.
you. Yeah, yeah. I just went out a little too fast, but
Yeah,
It's
yes, that
warm.
was close.
it was warm,
Yeah.
and I mean, look,
Yes.
I think, but how does that affect? And this is kind of a serious question. How does that affect your racing as you move forward? Being full time with Dallas Marathon. I mean, I know you've worked before, so I mean, it's not like you haven't juggled many things.
I would say that the job doesn't impact my running as much as my family impacts my running.
Exactly.
Yeah, the job, I mean, Marcus and the team, everybody is extremely flexible and supportive. So that is not really the issue. The issue are the kids
Yeah,
playing more sports and
that's right.
so I just do everything before daylight and I'll sleep when I die.
You're gonna have to, especially
Yeah, yeah.
well, and especially for the next few months, because what is it, November? And
Yeah.
so, you got a few weeks until Dallas is up. So
The one other way that it impacts my running is when I do run another race, I think about it much differently.
yeah,
I come back and I say, "You wouldn't believe the barricade coverings," and want to report back. So that is, look at the porta potty layout. I mean, things like
yeah.
that,
What's been your biggest challenge so far?
professionally or with running.
No, 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 just with Dallas. Sorry, that should have been more specific. Just what's the biggest challenge of race directing in a sense, or being kind of the operations person? Not
I
with
would
this guy.
say no. No, we have such a great team. I would say the biggest challenge would be the unknown. It's weather and then people
Yeah,
and just you can only anticipate so much.
yeah.
And we try to anticipate it all, but it's impossible.
What's your biggest challenge over the years? Like there's got to be like maybe there was a big challenge 4 years ago, and then this year it's different. It's probably every different. It's different every year, huh?
It's definitely different. And that's why I've been working on this for so long. It's every year I learn new things. And every year there's a different challenge. Sometimes new systems are put into place, sometimes new permit requirements. The nice thing is, though, when I started as a full time paid employee in 2007 to now, where we have 5 full-time employees, I guess delegating.
Hmm.
And,
That's been a challenge for you.
well, it's because I'm used to doing things my way on my timeline to get things done. And you worry about those things when you give them to another person. But I have learned a couple of things. But the most important one is you find good people
Yeah.
to help out, and then you let them do the job, get
Yeah.
out of their way. And Jodi and I, a couple of times, have talked about things, and I'm like, that's a great idea, Jodi, but why don't we implement that after I retire? And it's all yours. And she's been very gracious. She understands. It's kind of hard to let go of some things, but you also
love that.
learn. I went to college and got a finance degree. When I told my parents I was leaving the investment banking world to become a full-time race director, they cried and disowned me and stuff.
Oh wow.
But it doesn't take a special education to become a race director, but it takes a special aptitude. That's the main thing I've learned, that all of the employees we have at the Dallas Marathon have this special attitude that they're willing to do anything and everything to put on a great event. And I was hired initially to become race director because even though I was a volunteer at the Dallas Marathon, I was at the finish line at 5:30, 6 o'clock at night when it's dark already, picking up trash,
Yeah.
even though that wasn't in my job description. And I was
You
a
just have to do
volunteer.
everything.
And someone pointed out that to another board member, hey, that's a race director right there, picking up trash.
Well,
So, and that's the thing. And so I don't have the challenges I used to. Again, my biggest challenge is to make sure I help everyone else do their job and answer whatever questions I can to
yeah.
help them get there. And basically, that's it. It's just sit back and have fun. Other than that,
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
It's something you mentioned that is big, and I want to dive more into that is kind of that community aspect, organizations maybe being part of it. Can you dive a little bit deeper into what that means? Because I'm curious. Because yeah, I'm just curious on kind of what that might mean.
I think for us as an organization, we are looped in with some incredible run groups.
Yeah.
So
Hmm.
we are we have that support. I'm talking neighborhoods, people
Got it. That's
who,
right. That's right.
yeah, for me, it's
Yeah.
more neighborhoods because I do feel like we have a community relations director who's incredible and she's boots on the ground. She's
Mm.
going to every run group and she's running with the social runs. And I don't know how she does it. She's pretty incredible. And she's
What's her name?
Patty,
Okay.
Patty Moreno.
Okay.
And she is really building the relationships. And there were, Marcus did that previously because we've had a team of 5 for what this is now year 2. I made the 5th, but prior to that, it was, Marcus building those relationships. And
So you mean so the 5K races that you guys or fun runs that you're
Yeah.
putting on is kind of what you're talking about, right?
yeah,
More of that kind of stuff.
no, I'm really talking about neighborhoods coming out on race day
Mm.
and not being upset that their roads are closed.
So
Okay. I see what we're getting
Yeah,
at.
yeah.
I see what we're getting at now.
this is what's kind of interesting, the dirty side of race directing. And runners, this is the inside look at what we're doing. And I had no idea until I became a race director. There are so many things that you have to get done to put on a race. That you have to. And over the years, it's gotten harder and harder. The most important thing is you have to have permits through the city of Dallas. And when I first started as race director in 2002, our permit was a page and a half. Our permit now is almost 30 pages, I think, and the requirements. And in fact, when Jodi was working at Event Southwest, that's the first thing I handed off to her over there is you take care of the permits. It takes weeks and weeks and several months to go through this whole process. But what you have to do, you're required to do, is you have to notify all the churches, all the businesses, all the residents along the route. You have to get them to sign off on the route coming by their establishment or through their neighborhoods. And over time, as they realize that they have to do this, they become more vocal. And of course, no one wants us to come by their church or business in the busiest shopping season or church going season of the year right before Christmas. And so a lot of it is dealing with these personalities, both on the city level, the business level, the residential level, as well as my main focus, the runner level, to make sure everyone's happy and getting along nice. We like another requirement as a part of that process is we notify the residents along the route several times. We do a door hanger, door to door for every house along the route. We do a mailing to 5 different zip code areas,
28,000 people.
28,000 mailings that go out to notify them. We do a second special door-to-door notification in Paul Ridley's district that we go through at his request to remind the people that our runners will be coming through there. We do social media posts, special emails to businesses and churches, meetings with homeowner associations. And again, because of this, we realize over time, it's not just the runners that we really want to make sure have a good time. Jodi said, we want the city to embrace this. We go through some older neighborhoods, people my age or older that don't like change. They only go to church one way and one way only, or they don't go to church, and the churches have made us aware of this. And so there's a lot of moving parts that we have to resolve beforehand to make sure everyone is willing to allow us to have the race.
Wow, that was a lot.
It
Just
is a
in
lot.
one little, that's the community piece you're talking about.
Yes.
That is the community piece. And that is the
Just-
year-round piece. People say you guys do one race a year
No.
and that keeps you busy. And it does. I mean, this planning and preparation starts the day after, essentially, so that
What's weird is because, and maybe I'm overstepping, I'm not sure, but as I kind of look at sports in Dallas, period, Dallas has had not that great of a attitude, in my opinion, towards whether it was Dallas Cowboys or Mavericks and Stars. And I know Stars and Mavs are right there, but, they're about to leave, in the next few years. And when you think of like we do have White Rock Lake, which is amazing, just for runners, but, you don't have a great kind of ecosystem for runners or even cyclists or anything else besides one part of the area. And I feel like Dallas has been really difficult, and not just, it sounds like some opportunity here, for maybe it's the city or whatever, but I think overall, I was talking to Heidi several months ago, and Fort Worth embraces the marathon, and they want this. They can't wait to have it.
Yeah.
And I feel like Dallas, so I don't know how true that is, and I'm not sure how much y'all want to say, but to me, that's from outside looking in and just watching it, and then listening to somebody like Heidi, it's been pretty clear to me.
I think the positive is that we have the runner buy-in. And,
Yeah.
and most people in Dallas on this day with our numbers, the way they are, most people know someone who is participating
Yeah,
in
of
this event,
course. Yeah.
which in turn is enhancing the experience for the community. We're we're making incredible strides in
Mhm.
making this Dallas's, I mean, it is Dallas's race, but for really this being the day when everything can shut down and everybody's happy about it because they want
Yeah,
to go cheer on some runners. That's my dream.
And I
And
want to
we're,
add,
we're getting
I
there.
think the problem is there's always some bad apples.
sure.
As a whole, the residents of Dallas and most of the
Yes.
businesses and churches love the event. There's
Yeah.
a couple of churches that actually moved their service that morning to the evening and encouraged their members to come out and cheer on the race. So there's a lot of people who really do love the marathon. It's just a few bad apples that can be vocal and impede a little bit on what we're trying to do. Because I just said that, I do want to make sure everyone aware, and this really helps us in that regard, is that we're a nonprofit. We benefit the Scottish Rite for Children Hospital, have been doing that for 20 years now and have given them over
That's
4.5 million. And then just this past Friday, every year we adopt a DISD elementary school. This year it was H.S. Thompson Learning Center, and part of our partnership with Feet and some other very kind sponsors, we were able to give every child in that school a brand new pair of shoes and
Awesome.
socks to go with it. We learned over time that some of these kids, when we'd give them new shoes, their socks were like,
Yeah.
if they had socks. And so this year we were able to add socks to the mix, and now all the kids got to go home Friday after school with a pair of brand new shoes and socks.
I love that.
And then we also have a program that a lot of people may not know about on Saturday when after the 5K and the 10K, we have a 6,000
Yeah.
kid race, 6,000 participant kid race that is free to all
Oh, wow.
DISD students. So they come in on buses and run the race and get to
It's like a mile,
experience. It's a 1 mile and a 2 mile.
Okay.
And they get to cross the start, finish. They get to watch the video.
Right.
It's really encouraging young athletes to experience
Yeah.
the full thing.
They feel like marathoners. They get a special medal as well and a participant shirt. And
That's
it's
great.
amazing how many years later we'll hear kids
Yep.
who running the marathon or the 5K, one of our events, and said, "Yeah, I got my start at the Encore Kids race and stuff." It's a feel good thing.
You know, last week or a week before, DRC had this half marathon race and that they do every year. I didn't run it, but surprisingly, there was several really fast people in that race. People running 113, 115. Like I was talking to this guy, Jose Lopez, and he ran a 124 and he was 20th place. And for a DRC race, you know, like
Yeah.
it's rare. So to see that many fast people, the point is like, when I look at Dallas, I mean, there's always really fast people.
Mhm,
I think, you know, I was talking to Brent Woodall yesterday. He just got done running Indianapolis, ran 228. He's not running Dallas, I don't think. Maybe he's doing the half, I'm not sure. But he told me to look out for a couple of people. And he thinks that in Dallas, there's this guy going to be running it. He thinks that he's going to get under or very low 220s. Do you guys have any favorites for, you know, the marathon, half marathon kind of thinking for the men's and women?
Two things, yes.
Is that putting you on the spot too much or?
No, I mean, so our elite program, this year we will have about 50 to 60 local elites spread between the half and the full
Oh.
marathons. Really impressive list of names. And I think there's a couple of guys that could easily go sub 220.
Sub 220.
Yeah,
They live here in Dallas.
that live here locally, North
Okay.
Texas.
Oh, well, I'll interview them.
Now, in addition to that, the NAIA collegiate system has designated the BMW Dallas Marathon as their marathon challenge championship. And so all the students at these NAIA colleges and universities have to qualify to come run this final here in Dallas. And they're bringing approximately 120 elite athletes to run. So we're going to have
The half and full or
just the full marathon. So 120 alone in the full marathon for NAIA.
is this new?
This is brand new. Yeah. They-
Okay. Like I've never heard of it.
well, they had been running at another fairly big marathon, and they were looking for a new marathon to choose at this time of year, and reached out to us, and we were honored that they considered us, and we've been working very closely with them, and we're looking forward to seeing almost 200 people in our elite start. As a result of that, we will truly have a separate elite start, and then
Oh, no way.
Corral A will have to wait a little bit before we start them, a couple of minutes before we start the Corral A after that. But again, it's because we have 200 elites this year. We need to give them, and it's a championship. It's a championship for NAIA as well as being an RRCA state championship marathon. So we want to make sure they get out clean and get away for a few miles.
I don't think anybody knew this. Not many people know this.
So there's some press releases, and I'm not sure.
Okay.
Just like we have Patty as a community relations, we have Haley as our marketing director, and she manages all of our email communications, oversees our social posts.
Send an email to me. I don't know.
I was going to say, runners are notorious for not reading their emails, and we're very conscious of that. We've learned over time we don't mass send out emails that are worthless.
Yeah.
But it's come out in press releases a couple of times,
Okay.
and we'll make people more aware of it at the expo and race week.
That makes sense. And Leah and I, my wife, are volunteering like that Friday packet pickup, and I'm doing shirts or something like that. So, I mean, I was like, well, I'm interviewing these guys, so I should at least go.
I thought we owed you.
No, you don't. But well, that's exciting. Wow, I'm just so impressed with that. So a couple things that I'm interested in and that I told you I'd talk about is one is something new that you guys did this year was kind of the bib transfer stuff. There's a lot of talk about it, and look, I think it's really good. Who wants to talk about why they did that? Like,
Definitely, Marcus.
okay,
Yeah, and this is something that Jodi will grow into. There's a number of things we've been considering. Last year, we added insurance. This year, we added the bib transfer. And as runners ourselves, again, we look at it from a runner perspective. And I've paid money for races that didn't happen for one reason or another, be it my situation or the race situation. And I've been doing this for, racing for, 40 plus years. You just get used to the fact that the standard is no refunds, no deferrals, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Times have evolved and new systems are in place now from a software perspective that allows us to do a little bit more than what we used to. The main reason behind that was back in the olden days when you mailed in a check with a paper application, it was really hard to make a change in that. These days with electronic registration and things, it's easier to track. The policy industry-wide is still no deferrals, refunds and stuff, but we're making inroads. From a runner perspective, we knew this would help the runners that for whatever unfortunate reason, be it in their control or out of their control, they wouldn't be able to participate. If it's a covered medical reason or something like that, we have the race insurance that is pennies on the dollar when you register. And then up until the end of October, we allowed transfers to other runners. And again, it's a paperwork thing. Even though it's all electronic, we've got to be aware of who transferred to who and make sure the waivers are signed and the communications are updated and things like that. So it's still a process that we have to get involved in and requires some time. But again, it makes for a much better runner experience through the whole process and through the race. And again, the bottom line is we want the runners, after it's all said and done, to say, that was a great experience. Not just a great race, a great experience from the time they register until the time they register for our next race.
And I would say that the cutoff is important and not just, it's not a cutoff for fun. We have bibs that need to be ordered and we have numbers that need to be finalized. So I think it's a very generous cutoff time being the end of October so that we have enough time to get everything in place for race day.
What do you guys do about scam and stuff like that? Like, what is
bandits.
that?
It's a shame. Again, we're a nonprofit. We like to donate as much money as we can to the Scottish Rite for Children. Because of the sellout situation, we're seeing more and more bandits for whatever reason. And it takes away from the people who paid for this experience.
100%.
If we run out of medals or T-shirts, it's because people have been banditing. And, I only hope that as it gets worse, that people at the start of the race speak up. And we do our best, but it's kind of hard with the big crush of the crowd when they get in the corrals to start. But we really do try to check for bibs. So if you're a runner, please, race morning, make sure your bib is on the outside of your clothing or have your jacket open so we can see it very easily. And there's probably someone right behind you trying to sneak in behind you. It might take a little while to get in the start corral, but it's because we're trying to ensure the experience you as a paid runner are going to have someone else takes.
I've never had problems getting a crow. Like, I've run that race a lot.
Well, again, I'm not there race morning. I'm doing other stuff.
That's true. Maybe others have had problems with that. So over the last 4 years, you said you've been kind of working with, what have you learned? What is kind of the, and what's changed? Like, I'm sure you've got some takeaways from that.
Tons of takeaways. There's a takeaway every day, even leading up to the event. I think I can tell you last year, my biggest takeaway, my most rewarding moment was being in the tail vehicle as we were tailing our final runners. And I think, you've mentioned fast people. There are a lot of fast people in DFW. I run with them. I think it's easy to lose perspective. And everyone, if you haven't ever seen what happens at the end of a marathon, you should come and volunteer to be a finish line volunteer and see the grit that people have who are out there in the elements, and does not matter, they are going to finish. And so I think I've learned, my takeaway has been to appreciate every runner, the fastest and the slowest, as I've seen these people conquer 26.2 miles.
Yeah, and it's funny that you say that because a lot of times, like, running in running groups for me over the years, I would just stick with one group. So it was my group that I ran with, right? And the biggest reason I started like the DFW running group, it's a Facebook group that brings in all. I wanted to talk to all kinds of runners. Like,
Right.
I don't just want to talk to fast or slow or just people that I just know. I want to talk to everyone, and that's another reason I started this podcast, one of many, but was one to get closer to the community, one to kind of start talking to people like you, but also like, this is a running community. This has turned out to be DFW in general. There's literally 50 running groups or more, and some popping up all the time. I mean, you look at like Run It Up, for example. Last year they started, and I got to talk to Theo and Netta, and, they've been on this podcast. But it's really cool to see, what they're doing in the Black and brown community. I told them, I was like, look, I never really, you'd see an African American come into like DRC, maybe one or two of them, and they're like, look, what they've started has just been amazing. It's just all I'm saying. And I'm pretty excited. They sit there and party and all that kind of stuff. And what you guys are doing within, the Dallas, what you've been doing for years, Marcus, is bringing runners together, but even more. Like, I mean, this stuff is selling out. People are excited to run the races, and you can't have enough spots for all of the runners that want to run your race. That's going to feel good.
Well, it feels good, but I hate having to tell a runner no. I mean,
Sure.
we hear so many stories about why.
How many people could you get? Like 60,000 if you wanted? I mean, I don't know. Who knows the number? We don't know.
We don't
Right.
know the number.
We need that community buy-in.
Yeah. And going back, we're thinking about previous, we already know next year we're gonna have to change our course. There's some major road construction going on in Highland Park. So we're already working on next year's route. And then we know the convention center and the new convention center. So we're looking several years down the road, even while we're focusing on getting this one done. But there's been a resurgence in running again. This is either the second or third running boom that I've seen. And this one is really unique in that the people in this boom are more in it for the fun.
Yeah, that's right.
When I first started running back in the 80s, it was about, the question was, what's your finish time?
Yeah.
And they don't ask that as much anymore now. Well, some
maybe it's
do,
my, generation.
but that's not the most important question. The questions you hear now at these running groups are, hey, what do you do for a living? Are you married? Do you have kids?
Yeah.
And stuff like that. It's not like,
it's a lot more about community.
What's your favorite running shoe? What's your PR? You don't hear that as much. And so we change our focus a little bit too. Our course is what it is. And it's hard to find 26.2 miles through some of the best neighborhoods around that can get approved and handle all this. But we also think, okay, what's gonna make the runners again say that was a great experience? What can we do to enhance that establishment of rapport with the other people? And I'd say other runners with them, but even the walkers. So now we focus, like Jodi said, and especially me at my age, more in the middle to back of the pack. What are they experiencing? Are they getting the same experience as the people who are in their first hour of finishing? The interesting thing is, in my years of staying at the finish line, I see more people breaking down crying, happy in the last hour than I did the first hour. And that's the big emotional thing about the marathon. It doesn't matter how quick you are, it will change you.
I mean, I just know for every marathon I've done, I couldn't wait till it was over and I cried because it was so hard once. And I was like, I don't ever want to do this again. No, but it's an amazing accomplishment that I get that, but it's hard. Running a marathon for anybody is hard. And, if there's any things that I would tell people is do a little bit of training, and it's not something that you should just go out and do because you're going to get hurt.
You cannot fake it.
It's going to be tough. So that's interesting that at least you're announcing it now, that in a year or two that the course is going to change in some ways because of construction and, because people don't like change.
No,
I can promise you, like just from my experience, people are like, oh my gosh, they changed the course. They keep changing the course. And I'm like, do they maybe like, I don't keep up with all that.
Well, a
lot of people do.
Yeah, from a race director perspective, we don't like change either because of all the background stuff we have to do every time we make a change and getting it recertified, which costs money and time. But that also kind of makes it exciting. It's a new opportunity. Yeah. And maybe given the fact that we have to change, we can find some way to make it better as a result of that change. So that's the fun part is saying, okay, one door closed, where's the next one that's going to open and stuff.
But at some point, so I'm not pushed back slightly. I don't disagree with that. I think that's a good attitude to have. But when you look at the Bostons and Chicagos and the kind of the things that you were talking about from a community standpoint, if you want to get these communities out and being all hooray and everything else, you need consistency. You need focus. How do you, I understand that there's construction and stuff, and at times something might slightly change, and maybe that's changed for the big ones, but how do you kind of think about that from a community standpoint? No?
I'm pushing for community involvement
Yeah.
and community buy-in. I mean, that's really, I think that would help a lot.
The main thing is, it's not only with community, but the residents stuff, but as a whole, communication.
Yeah.
And so we try to make people aware of any changes as early as possible so we can work through
Sure.
any issues that might come up.
Yeah.
Right.
And in fact, that's having run through Highland Park for many years and having a good rapport with their city. They let me know as soon as they found out that it would be scheduled because they knew what it would take. Funny thing, another story, many years ago, I wasn't the one who did it, but someone put a mile marker in Highland Park, it was mile 4, with spray paint. And that's a big no-no. You don't spray paint anything in Highland Park without a permit, but especially on the streets. And so I was called to go out there and take turpentine with me and get it off the street. And I was at this corner and there was a big mansion there. And I saw this lady looking out the window, kind of watching what I was doing. I just kind of turned my back, kept working away, trying to get that paint off. And she finally came out there and she goes, "What are you doing?" And I said, "Well, I'm taking this marker off the street." "Well, why?" You're not supposed to spray paint on the streets, and someone accidentally put this mile marker here for the Dallas Marathon. "Well, are they moving or something?" And I said, "No, ma'am, they're still coming through here, but we just can't mark the mile marker here." She goes, "Oh, well, thank goodness, because that's my favorite time to come out and see these guys."
I love that. That's what you want, stuff like that, yeah.
So it's a matter of, for the most part, most people love the Dallas Marathon. It's so fun to watch the runners go by. I mean, every runner is a different look, different story. So by making the community aware as a whole when it's going to be and any changes to the route as soon as we can, just smooths everything over.
Wow. So did I miss anything?
Well, a lot, but we don't have time. One thing I do want to mention, and again, the organization that, this is our 55th Dallas Marathon, 54th Dallas Marathon. We've been around for a long time. When I took over as race director for my predecessor, I told the board on my first meeting, my main job is just to maintain or enhance the reputation of the race.
Yeah.
And again, even back then, it was one of the bigger races in North Texas, one of the few marathons too, but we've grown, we've gotten bigger. People like our product. I'm biased, but I think we put on a pretty good race. We understand all the different nuances, and we've had a lot of requests to do more. We've done the fall fun runs for each BMW dealership, 6 of them now that we just finished.
That's right, which I think has been great. I mean, a lot of turnout for that, and people love it.
Selling those out as well. As a result of doing those for a number of years, both runners, sponsors, and communities have asked us to take a look at doing another event.
Okay.
And we've looked with a couple of different cities, and the announcement is coming out on Monday, the 10th in the afternoon. So this podcast will be after the announcement comes out, but we are doing the McKinney Historic Half Marathon and 5K. And it's going to be an event put on by the Dallas White Rock Marathon organization, just like the Dallas Marathon. Going to be a pretty big event. We've been working with the city of McKinney for almost a full year now leading up to this announcement. It will be a March 28th Saturday event taking place starting at the McKinney new City Hall building.
Is that coming this March?
This next March.
Oh, wow.
And it will finish, starts at McKinney City Hall, finishes at Tupps Brewery. The president of the Dallas White Rock Marathon organization, Jason, lives in McKinney now.
Okay.
And so between him, Jodi, myself, and a few others have designed what we are really excited about, a great half marathon course that has a little bit of everything. It's got the downtown McKinney area, historic, go through a few neighborhoods. We go through the newer part of McKinney, the housing boom. We added in running through some of their parks on a paved trail. It's a loop course, finishes at Tupps Brewery. We've got a lot of vendors and partners coming out. There might even be a special McKinney Historic Half beer on that morning as well. So something that we're really excited about. It will be in March, so it's a time of year that doesn't interfere with the Dallas Marathon. But it's really been fun to work 2 really different events, even though it's a road race. Different people we're working with, different requirements, different scenery. But the fact that we finished at a brewery is something new. And
that's got to be your favorite.
I'll work the finish line. So
drink a beer after everybody comes through. 1 beer per person.
we'll tap them. Yeah, so that's really exciting. That's something else that's taking
awesome.
place. And
Wow.
with 5 full-time employees, it's something that we're finally able to pull off because we have the help and experience behind it to do this. And we're really excited about that and looking forward to the feedback. And again, we always focus on number one, safety, but also runner feedback because as runners ourselves, we want to put on the best race we can so that when you see us out at White Rock Lake or on the Katy Trail, or you might see us on the Katy Trail, we don't want you to be talking bad about our events, either to us or behind our back. We want to make sure that you come up and say, hey, that was great. If you do have suggestions for improvements, man, we are all ears. That's how the race has grown over time, is by listening to our suggestions. So we're looking forward to the future.
Wow, that's really exciting. And thank you for announcing that on, DFW Running Talk. Anything else? I mean, that's a big deal. And so that's really exciting. That's actually not that long away.
No, not at all.
So you got Dallas Marathon coming up. Then you've got, or BMW Dallas Marathon. And then you've got this McKinney, what's it called again?
McKinney Historic Half. And for people who are familiar or maybe not familiar with McKinney, it's got a very historic downtown and town square. And we'll take part in seeing that during the race itself. Really, really nice community up there.
Any thoughts like how many people you think are going to show up? Or
we fully anticipate a sellout, just like we did our half marathon this year. We're going to cap it around 4,000. We're still working with a few partners as far as capacity, but probably about 4,000 between the half marathon and the 5K. We'll also have as we do in December, we'll have a kids 100-meter dash as well. So it's really Saturday family friendly, even though it finishes at Tupps. Tupps has a great family area to play and things to do for families. So going to be very exciting.
Well, this has been awesome. Jodi, thanks for coming on. Marcus, thanks for finally coming on.
Yeah.
I've been asking you for 1 year now and you came, and I'm really happy that you guys came. So thank you for everyone for tuning in to another DFW Running Talk. Please make sure to rate and review us and go to dfwrunningtalk.substack.com and get the newsletter. Until then, thanks everyone. Jodi, thank you. Marcus, thank you.
Jodi, welcome aboard.
Thank you.
I like that.